and everything else will come. They'll train you for everything else. So, I mean, it was a great job. I really loved it.
Awesome. And now we have Miss Jena in the house.
I'm back. I'm so sorry. It won't let me join from my computer, so I don't know. Technical difficulties are the theme of the evening.
No worries.
Okay, so I missed all of the questions. David was talking about his job working with Apple. So are we talking about ourselves?
Yeah, you're just introducing your lovely self. You look very lovely this evening.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so hi, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jena Nesbitt. I live in Portland, Oregon. I work as a trend forecaster, which means I help a large company that does general merchandise decide their product assortment about 1.5 to 2 years in advance. And so a big part of my job is looking at what's cool and telling people out there that it's cool. So I love anything that is new and exciting, like Periscope. I've always been kind of an early adopter of social media, but this is by far my favorite social media platform that has ever existed. So yeah, and then other than that, I run a group here in Portland called the Creative Roundtable, and we meet weekly. It's for creative entrepreneurs to learn about how to start their businesses. So I do a lot of stuff with entrepreneurship, a lot of stuff with creatives, so designers, artists, musicians, anybody that identifies as a creative person.
Awesome. And we've got folks here saying they love your glasses. Portland's awesome. So they're just very impressed with your job. So, oh my gosh, you're like, so if you're wearing those glasses, does that mean I'm going to be wearing those glasses in 2 years?
Okay, so you want to hear the story about these glasses? It's so funny.
Yeah.
I've actually had these glasses for longer than I'd like to admit. I fell in love with them probably about 2.5 years ago. And it's funny because when I first got these glasses, nobody noticed them. And then within the last 6 months, I get complimented on these glasses everywhere I go. People on the street, people that I interact with at functions, everybody compliments them. And so as I say in the trend forecasting biz, it's time to change my style.
What's next? What's next, Jenna?
I don't know. I'm thinking I might get some round, like, Coke bottle glasses. One of my first pairs of glasses were actually like the round frames, and I have a pair of sunglasses like that that are so cute. So I think I might try that out. I don't know. I might look like a big Poindexter, but that's okay.
And I see, David, you're multitasking. David's getting interviewed and being on my Periscope. Like, he's chatting on my Periscope. So that is, Jenna, you are too.
I mean, sending a handful of emojis is easy. I don't know how David's doing it.
I'm trying my best.
I know, well, my iPad's like over here to the left, so I'm just like punching the emoji keyboard like, hopefully this isn't offensive.
Yeah. Okay, guys, so let's talk a little bit about Scope Tribe. Hashtag Scope Tribe. So David and Jenna have this really cool thing going called hashtag Scope Tribe, and they're helping new scopers, get there, like get in front of the camera, let's say, and scope whatever it is that they're doing. They have really cool assignments. I did one of them a couple weeks ago. So anyway, if you guys want to go in, just to kind of share with everyone what you guys do.
Yeah. David, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Scope Tribe, basically, it's an idea that Jenna and I came up with. When you're watching Periscope, you're in someone's scope, and you start adding followers, or you start checking out people, and you see that sometimes you look at their profile, and there's only 1 star. Right? And they're very active commenting, but there's only 1 star in their profile, and you're like, okay, so this person really hasn't done any scoping. And I've noticed that you're watching a lot of scopes, but a lot of people are commenting, and people are, not everyone there is a scoper. So we said, hey, why don't we try and help people to start broadcasting? It's something that even myself, I was very nervous to broadcast at the very beginning. And, if we could help other people to kind of like break down that shell, break down the wall, and get into scoping, we thought it would be a good thing just to kind of like support them and give them tips to start off. And I think that once you break down that wall, it's a lot easier. So we came up with Scope Tribe as a way to get people to transition from viewer to broadcaster, and to basically give them a community where we would give them that support.
Yeah, and one of the coolest things about Scope Tribe that we do is, and David, kind of briefly mentioned it, but we do a weekly challenge. And so every single week we are coming up with a new idea to encourage people. And so this week, our challenge is scope your song. So we try to keep them different, we try to keep them engaging, and we try to keep them something that anybody can do. So this week we're encouraging people to use that hashtag in their broadcast. It's a way for them to kind of open up and get out of their shell, explain to us why they love a song, or maybe play an original song that they've written or recorded for us to listen to. And so really, you know, the inaugural, would it be inaugural? The first hashtag that we debuted was Scope Your Sky. And
yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah,
I didn't know what it was, and then I saw this, and I was like, what is this? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. By the way, you guys are getting hashtag Periscope Pioneer.
Oh.
Someone put that in the comments. Hashtag Periscope Pioneer. So.
Wow.
Well, thank you. That's a very flattering hashtag. I'm very like, we are constantly touched by how supportive and involved everybody is with Scope Tribe, and like anybody's part of the Scope Tribe, right? It's not an exclusive club. It's all about building the type of community we want on Periscope, right? We all want to engage with really positive and supportive people who are going to be there to watch our broadcasts, to share our broadcasts, to give us hearts, you know, to show us support. And by building a community, it's really amazing to know that when you hop on to broadcast, even if you're new, that there's going to be somebody there to watch you, somebody there that you know, that you've chatted with, who's going to give you hearts and going to say, like, you're awesome, you know, you're doing a really good job, because it's hard. It's so hard the first time you broadcast, or even, I mean, even if you've done, you know, 200 broadcasts like I have or David has, I still get really nervous before I go live. And so I think that knowing that there's a friendly face on the other side of you, you know, putting yourself out there, makes you feel a lot more comfortable.
Awesome. And Julia, who's in here, just did hashtag Periscope Heroes. So that is y'all's Halloween costume right there.
All right. Well, I just finished my Halloween 2016 trend boards. I should have included myself dressed up as a Periscope something. I don't know.
Oh, thank you, Ray. Ray, yeah, I know very few people. Actually, Jena and David do scope their hangout, as do I. Hey, Doug, thanks for jumping in.
I just wanted to add something there, Kathy, if I could.
Do it, do it.
But it's true what Jena says, that, you know, people are very nervous to start off their first scope. But when they know that they have a community around them to help them out, it's great, because one of the first things you worry about is, I'm going to scope, what kind of comments am I going to get? Are people going to trash my idea? Am I going to get trolls in my chat room? But when you know that you're going to be scoping and you're going to have another 10 or 20 people or 30 people joining you that are part of the same community, and they're all going to be supportive, then it makes it a lot easier to scope whatever it is that you want to show off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and guys, I'm broadcasting this. This is on Google Hangout on air, so it actually will be on my YouTube channel, and I'm also scoping it for my phone. So that's what you guys are watching. So hashtag scope your hangout.
That's pretty much what we do. We haven't done ours on air live yet, though, Kathy. So we might try that out and see how it works.
Try it, because it goes directly to YouTube, so then you don't have to deal with editing the video, and it just, you know, people can always go back and be like, oh, okay, that's really helpful. So,
that's super cool. Okay. That's super duper cool.
Yeah, we'll try that out.
Oh, someone's asking you about the name of your community again. Oh, it went really fast for Jena. Hey, Jason Stoken's in the house.
The group. Oh, if they're asking about the group that I run, I'm typing it in. Actually, let me type you the website. It's called the Creative Roundtable. thecreativeroundtable.com. I'll type it into the chat in Kathy's room so you guys can see it. It's really hard to type with one hand.
Okay, guys, so let's get back to maybe some of the things that you guys have been doing, like why, you know, what's been working really well, like what has been the reaction of folks, like maybe some memorable moments.
I think the reaction has been positive almost like from day one. I know that after we did our first show, on that Sunday, Monday, I spent like half a day on Twitter just responding back to people, and it was amazing. Like my Twitter blew up that Monday, And every week I'm getting positive feedback from people saying how they love the challenges that we're giving them. I think one of the issues that people have with Periscope when they're first starting out is that they're not sure what to scope about. And a lot of times they feel that whatever they have to offer might be boring. They're like, well, who wants to see this? Like, I don't think it's going to be interesting. So by giving them that challenge every week, we kind of take that anxiety away from them. We're saying, okay, you don't have to worry about what you want to scope about. Here's what we want you to scope about. And they don't have to worry about that. So it's one less thing they have to worry about, and they can just concentrate on scoping. So it's been really great. I think the one challenge I think everyone loved was scope your shoes, because I find that a lot of our viewers are female, they are women, and they have a huge assortment of shoes. And some of their shoes have a history behind them, a story behind them. So I think that week everyone was scoping their shoes, and they really had fun with that one.
Yeah, I scope my shoes too. That was like, I cannot miss that one.
I remember that one. You had the black shoes with the red underneath, right?
The red sole. I had my Christian Louboutins. Yeah.
Fancy shoes, fancy shoes.
That's why I scoped them, because they're so beautiful.
Well, you have to, of course. No, I had a girlfriend over this morning, and she saw the shoes. I was showing her some new shoes I got, and she was like, oh, those are the shoes you scoped. And I was like, yeah.
So this is really cool, because you guys are helping people find their voice on Periscope, because a lot of people don't know. They're like, you know, what's my voice? What's my thing? What's my shtick, you know, on Periscope? I've got a question. How many folks do you have being part of this? How many, like, any idea on how many people are part of Scope Tribe, or maybe how many scopes have been done or anything like that? We're getting some cool questions.
It's hard to tell. I know, like, for example, the scope that we did tonight, Jenna and I were just looking over the numbers. In all, if you take into consideration also the web viewers that we had, in my scope I had a little bit over 200 people in that scope. So, and Jenna, I'm not sure what her numbers were, but I mean, we could easily say a good 350 if we add both of ours together. So I think it's a great amount of people. Those that are active and scoping and using the hashtags, I would say there's at least a good 50 people that are using those hashtags every week. So it's great. You know, I think that every week it's growing. There's more and more people coming into Scope Tribe. The word is getting out, and even the ones that are already starting to be comfortable with it are still joining in for the new challenges. So I think it's working out really well.
That's cool. You guys, you know, I know you take a lot of pictures when people scope, but you should take those pictures, and then if you guys have a website, have like kind of like, you know, different pictures flashing of everyone. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I agree, Kathy. We have a website domain procured. We just have to build the website out. Yeah. But that won't be too bad. David and I, two designers, I think we can make it work.
Awesome. And you know, the cool thing is, like, we haven't hit critical mass. So these are just, you know, the people that are in here right now. But once it hits critical mass, I mean, you guys are going to be such a great resource.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kathy. And I think a big part of what we're trying to do is that we don't want to just specifically tell people what they should do. You know, like, this is the type of thing you have to do. It's like, interpret the challenge, you know, reinterpret the challenge, take from it whatever you'd like. But also, you know, we provide tips, but at the same time, we're all learning how to use Periscope together. And I think that that's a really fun thing about it, is that somebody who's brand new to Periscope could have an insight that somebody who's been using it since day one doesn't have. And so that's a big part of what we're trying to do, as well as a new user does not mean that they can't become an expert or become somebody that can give you great insight. And so everybody has a voice, and everybody on Periscope should feel empowered as part of the community to share what they've learned, and also to, you know, to help everybody better their own broadcasts or better themselves as viewers. So that's a big part of it, is just the support and the consistent reinforcement.
And they're asking for y'all's handles, your Twitter handles and your Periscope handles.
Oh, so, okay. I'll say hi in the room, guys. It'll just be a waving girl emoji. That's me saying hi. But my Twitter's the same as my Periscope, so feel free to follow me and you know, tweet at us on Twitter. We always try to be as available as we can.
Awesome, guys. And now this is perfect because I wanted to start talking about Periscope and storytelling. I mean, it's the ultimate tool, really, the ultimate platform, in my point of view, for storytelling. And this, this is perfectly. We've got, oh, hey, Doug. Awesome. I want to talk a little bit about that. Maybe we can talk about some of the, I know that you guys have the story of the lady that scoped some shoes, I think it was in the Philippines, and I want you guys to touch on that. But I also want us to touch on Nestle and, everything that's going on with how brands are starting to tell their story. So I'll let you guys figure out where you guys want to go with that.
Yeah, we had, when we did the challenge of Scope Your Shoes, we had Marty Marge, who was in the Philippines. She took on that assignment, and she actually had a different spin on it. She showed us a side of the Philippines that I didn't know about, where these street kids that basically have to somehow, I guess, get money from people and give this money away to another group of people. I guess these adults, the syndicate. It's kind of like I don't know if to call it a scam, but it's whatever. It's like some type of organized thing that's going on, and these street kids are treated like an eyesore in the Philippines, and these kids had no shoes. So that was her take on it. When we did Scope Your Shoes, she scoped these children. She didn't show their faces. She just showed their feet and told their story, and it was pretty touching in the fact that these kids are an eyesore. People don't look up to them. Like they're not treated well. At the time when she did the scope, it was like 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and she actually bought them their first meal of the day because she felt so bad for them. And sometimes these kids are in danger. Like, if they're in the wrong area of town or if people don't want them around, they get chased out. They can be threatened. So she kind of showed this scope to us. And it touched people, and at the same time, it showed us that not only can we use Periscope to scope our own personal lives, but we can actually use Periscope as a form of journalism, that we can actually show people socially what's happening in other parts of the world that we can't see. And I think she did a great job on it, and it was so interesting. Like I wish Periscope would actually get into that direction too, that people would scope a little bit more the social events or social things that are happening in their community.
And to add to that, it's really interesting because I've been talking a lot about that. I had written an article like a couple of days after Periscope came out, and it actually got me into LinkedIn jail, and I've told this story before. But I said that it's going to be really, really awesome for citizen journalism and for freedom of press and freedom of speech in countries that don't have that luxury. Like let's say like a Venezuela or somewhere like that, where it's like you don't have that. But if someone's scoping from inside and showing the reality of, like, in Venezuela you can't buy toothpaste or whatever. Like if they show that reality, like this is real. So it showed an entirely different side of Singapore. Blur Boy showed a different side of Singapore. That's interesting. Citizen journalism equals citizen scoping. I like that. So it'll be very interesting. Jenna, do you want to add anything to that?
Oh, I just think that it's very important for people to realize the power of their voice with Periscope, and there are a lot of things that happen on a day-to-day basis that you can share through Periscope that can create some sort of a social change. And so don't forget the power that you have at the tip of your finger, at your fingertips with Periscope. If you're witnessing some sort of an injustice, or you're witnessing something social that you feel that a community could help you benefit, then by all means share that with the community, so that people can really get that first point, that first person vantage point, because that's really what Periscope is doing for all of us, is it's allowing us to be more compassionate and more aware of situations that require our attention and our empathy. And I think we need to also recognize our power to put the stories of the people that we know that need that help out there.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, Periscope is journalism. We're getting some great comments here, guys. I wanted to segue a little bit into Nestle and the drumsticks, and we've gotten some comments about the brand. And I want to keep it really more about kind of how brands are using it to storytell. I think every comment here is justified and everything, but I think it's really interesting to talk a little bit more about how it was used. So I woke up this morning and started looking at the drumsticks, all the scopes that they were doing. They went first, they did one yesterday from a sunset, like from walking the beach. They did paddle boarding. They did parasailing, eating ice. Well, someone was eating an ice cream up there. They went skateboarding. It was used for a lot of things. It was used for a lot of things. Someone's saying here brands are getting it all wrong. And I don't know if you guys watched any of them, but I kept watching a couple of them, and I said, guys, there needs to be more interaction. Or I said, your scopes should be more interactive, or you should at least tell me I'm John with the drumstick team or something. I felt like there was that lack of interaction. And there were two parts. There was the streams from drumsticks, from the drumsticks account, and there were also, I think, I only identified 2 scopers that actually did stuff for Nestle. So just wanted to hear your thoughts.
I think that, the interaction piece is really huge. We actually kind of touched on this with celebrities as well in our Scope Tribe broadcast. At least I did. And I have watched a lot of celebrities hop on Periscope and treat it like it's just their on-demand audience and not an audience that they want to interact with, just a group of people that are going to watch them. And that's not the way to treat Periscope nor to interact with it. The types of tips that we're giving first-time broadcasters are very important also for brands to consider, that the interaction piece is key. People don't want to be in a broadcast that they believe is live and not be treated as though they have a voice in it. We would just watch a replay if we wanted to feel like we couldn't be part of that chat, right? You're making an effort to be part of the broadcast. And if you're making an effort to be part of the live broadcast, then obviously you want to have a voice in it. And that's what Periscope is about. So I agree with you, Kathy, that they kind of missed the mark on it, though it's really interesting as well, like the way that Twitter is pushing brands to do sponsored tweets in order to publicize the Periscopes that they're doing. I think it's really fascinating from a social marketing standpoint. Like, you can now basically use that as a case for investing in Periscope as a brand, because you can pay to have your tweets promoted and get viewers into your Periscope broadcast. However, if your broadcast isn't engaging and it's not entertaining to the Periscope community, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
There's no point.
No. I totally agree, and I was watching them. The ideas were great. The idea of like the parasailing, all these things were really cool, and they were taking us on a roller coaster and all this. I was like, I love the visual, but I was missing the interaction, and I was missing a little bit something more. And I think, and I have to say, like, taking a step back, it's like this is fairly new, and a lot of people don't know how to use it. But it would have been like. I'm starting to do a lot of consulting from that perspective. I'm like, they should have reached out to someone maybe in the Periscope community that does a little bit of strategy. I'm not saying it's me, or someone, whoever, and kind of really talked it through, because they would have gotten some really good ideas. So.
Absolutely. I think that the key thing for brands to realize in working with Periscope as a platform to promote their products or their services is specifically that they have to engage the influencers on Periscope, the people who are part of that community. Because one of the things that I realized, I got started on Periscope and Meerkat incredibly early. I started with my business mentor actually approached me to host a TV show, well, not a TV show, but a show on Meerkat the day after it launched. And I was interviewing, I was interviewing local entrepreneurs. However, once we realized that Meerkat's numbers were shrinking, not growing, once Periscope launched, we switched to Periscope as a platform. However, because my producer wanted to be the broadcaster of my show, and he wasn't spending time with the community, there were no viewers. I would do a simulcast at the same time and broadcast it from my own handle and have, I don't even know, like 50 times the amount of viewers, simply because I watched other people's broadcasts and I was engaged, both on Twitter and within the chat rooms. And so it made me realize that, yes, brands can approach this as a way to like broadcast their message, but nobody's really, really, really going to care unless they are also interacting with the community in a genuine way. Excuse me. They're going to have to be in these broadcasts of the people that they choose as their influencers. So maybe, you know, I talk a lot about design or trend or something like that. So maybe there's a brand out there, like a fashion brand, that wants to approach me as their influencer. Me with my community is going to be more valuable than them just broadcasting it out to theirs, because they're only broadcasting, they're not listening. And that's the most important thing, is to not just be a broadcaster, to be a viewer too.
And Dave, do you want to add something?
Yeah, when it comes to the brands, you know, I'll give you an example. I like if you ever go to hardware stores, I like Home Depot, because Home Depot, you can actually go there and buy stuff, and they actually have nights where you can go and learn something, right? They have like a night where you can go and learn how to tile your bathroom, how to recaulk your tiles, how to put up kitchen cabinets. So not only are they selling you a product, but they're showing you how to use that product. And I find that if brands are going to do, or are going to get into social media, especially on Periscope, what I'd like to see is, yes, you can talk about your product or talk about your service, but show us something that we haven't seen before. You know, show us a different way of using your product. Give us a tutorial. Talk to us. And it's very important, like you guys said, the interaction. If you're just going to broadcast something for the sake of broadcasting and not interact with your viewers, then what's the point? I can just watch a YouTube video and get that. But if you're going to actually interact, and we can actually ask questions while you're showing us your service or showing us your product, I think that goes a long way to actually retaining that person as a viewer and as a future purchaser of your service. So I think that these companies are going to have to rethink their strategy, maybe reaching out, like you said, to some of the influencers on Periscope and in social media, and seeing if there's a better way of attracting their audience and keeping that audience.
And to that point, I did catch two people that did the sponsored scopes. So one was Keaton, and he is in Chicago, and he's a YouTuber, and he also does like a lot of reviews for techie stuff. Cool dude. He's got like 36,000 followers. Like cool dude. He ate his ice cream on the beach and talked to people and everything, and it was fine. I really liked, there was this other girl called Olga K. And what she did, it was funny. I mean, she is an actress, so for whatever that's worth. But she did kind of go and buy the ice cream, and then she showed up to the beach and started giving it away, and that was interesting to watch. So I think that was a little bit Olga K, thank you. Yeah, that was a little bit better. That was a little bit more interactive, and people were like, free ice cream? Hell yeah, you know? So that part was fun to watch, and I actually took some screenshots because I was very, the drumstick folks, guys, that was fun. I watched it, but there was really no interaction, and, and they're doing it from the drumstick account, which is non-human, but they have, humans doing this. So I'm like, I want to know who you are. Are you John with the drumstick account? Who are you? So I thought that it'd be really interesting to talk a little bit about that. I did see like these two I don't know if the word influencer is correct. That's, I have, that word's great. Sometimes I don't even know if we should use it or not. But they had these two people that are, that are well known. Like Keaton's really well known in YouTube, and Olga apparently is like a Snapchat. She's very involved in Snapchat or Insta. I'm not sure. But it was interesting to watch them do that. I would have liked to have seen more humans eating ice cream, or actually Kate, the lady that reached out to me, really awesome. She said they could have done something so good along the lines of like, it is first day of summer, but it's also Father's Day, and she was driving to see her dad, and what she was bringing him was a box of drumsticks with a bow on top. So it's like, what are your favorite moments about eating ice cream with your dad, or what is something like that. So anyway, just wanted to hear your thoughts.
I don't. David, do you have something you want to say, or I can go on my?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll let you have the floor.
Okay, so I think that you're very right, Kathy, about using their drumstick name almost as a network for all of these different broadcasters to come on and share their stories. Like, that's great because it's convenient, it's under one handle, it's easy to find. However, at the same time, if the person isn't taking the few minutes to greet the people who are viewing and to also introduce themselves, then when you're watching the Periscope, you feel very confused. And that's, I think, something that I've encountered watching. Creative Live is actually one of my favorite brands. And Creative Live, they have an online platform where they teach classes for creative entrepreneurship. I'm very interested in Creative Live. And it made sense that they joined Periscope, right? Their whole platform is live education. And they decided to join Periscope. But all of their Periscope broadcasts that I've encountered, I felt as though, even though they were doing question and answer with a like a professional in the creative industry, like a photographer or something, they were not giving that person the phone and allowing them to interact back and forth with the viewers. It was through a mediator. Sometimes a mediator is necessary, but as I had mentioned my show that I had started on Meerkat, where I was interviewing people, my producer constantly monitored the questions. And so that impacted my viewership and impacted the retaining of the people who were watching, because they wanted to interact with me. They wanted me and the person I was interviewing to be reading the comments and interacting with them in live time, not having it filtered through another person who is reading that question to me when they felt it was appropriate. Sometimes it's crucial, but at the same time, I don't think that that's how this platform works. I just don't think it's how it works. Pardon me, sorry, my allergies are killing me this afternoon.
No worries. David, do you want to add something?
No, I can't stress enough that interaction is really key. You have to interact with the audience, because that's why they're getting on Periscope. They want to be able to type in a question or type in a comment and have someone on the other end actually acknowledge their comment and talk to it. So, whatever the brands decide to do, they have to have that interaction. And sometimes I find that brands are doing a horrible job on social media, especially on Twitter and on Periscope. You can tweet something out to a company on Twitter, and you might never get a response. I've done that with McDonald's. I've tweeted stuff to McDonald's, never got a response back, especially and it's supposed to be like a customer service type of account. Never got a response back. And even on Periscope, there's some business accounts that I'm following, like, for example, Dropbox. Dropbox, I think, has, like, I don't know, 30,000 followers. They're not following anybody, and they haven't done any scopes. So what's the point of having that account? Like, if you're going to have that account on Periscope, use it. Follow people. Talk about your brand. Show us what you're doing. Interact with us. And I think whoever these companies have as social media experts, they have to get back down off the ladder and see what the common people down here are doing, and kind of bring it down a notch and really interact with everyone here, and then see how they can incorporate that into their strategy.
Awesome. And Jenna's phone is dying, guys, so hopefully she'll be able to stay. But I want to acknowledge some of the comments that were coming in. There was hashtag scope culture. Then they said, Jenna, this was the perfect chance for you to do a commercial for allergy medicine.
I'm going to run away for 2 seconds and grab my charger.
And also, yeah, I agree. It's like really about the interaction and building on that. And someone jumped in and said, JetBlue does a great job. There are some brands that are getting it and are doing a good job. I like, for example, the UFC, and I keep going to that one. The UFC has a lot of their fighters using it. So, the fact that they're actually, the actual fighters using it is really good. The world is changing, and they have to change or die. Okay. And it's interesting because you talk about interviewing folks, everything. I did a scope the other day where someone reached out to me and said, hey, what are your tips for interviewing people on Periscope? And I said, I had a really cool scope because I said, it's not the same. It's not like a regular TV interview or a regular media interview, because you got to stop every once in a while and you have to let the person know this is very different. There might be questions coming up. There might be, you might have to stop them halfway because there's a really cool question or there's a really cool comment. You want to acknowledge the people that are sending the questions. I went through this whole thing on how it is different to interview people on Periscope. So thank you. But, but it's so true. Like that interaction, I always go back to that. Like brands need to find a way to do it correctly. So I totally agree with your points, Jenna and David. I mean, I totally agree.
And don't get me wrong, I like I did say that there are some brands that don't get it. I do know, like, for example, my cellular company here in Montreal that I'm using, Fido, they have an amazing Twitter account that you can actually tweet them a question. They'll answer you back within the hour. Like, they are amazing. So I do know that there are some brands that do get Twitter and do get social media, but some don't. And there has to be a little bit more of an improvement for some of those companies. But like I said, interaction is key for me.
Someone said you're going to get sponsored by Home Depot.
Can I get sponsored by, like, Tesla? Like, I wouldn't mind a Tesla.
Can I get sponsored by Chanel? I would like that one.
I agree with you, Kathy. I just want free clothes, shoes, makeup, hairdos, glasses, nail polish.
So forget ice cream.
I'll take food too. I mean, that was one of the main perks of doing my interviews on Periscope with the food companies here in Portland was they would all hook me up with like a sample of everything that they made. And so, I mean, I'm decked out on amazing Portland food company treats.
Someone's asking, when are your challenges announced?
Oh, so the show is live every Sunday evening at 6 p.m. Pacific time or 9 p.m. Eastern time. We try to keep the show to about 30 minutes, and so usually the challenge is announced within like the last 5 to 8 minutes or so. So if you come in around 6:20, you'll probably still catch the challenges.
And someone wrote, "Ew, Pacific time."
I know.
Pacific time is whatever. So it's actually funny that you bring up Tesla because, and I want to make 2 quick points. One of the guys I met at the Periscope meetup in Denver, he's driving cross country in a Tesla.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Scott Sasman, I can't remember his last name right now, but I'll tweet him out to you guys. Yeah, so he's really cool. He's doing this, and he's looking for sponsorships. I'm like, cool, you're going to do awesome. And then Ryan Bell, who's the founder of Periscope Summit, and someone I work with very closely, he wrote a really cool article in Medium talking about the rise of micro sponsorships. So, how lots of folks can use these sponsorships, like little sponsorships in their scopes. If they have a following, if they have that kind of position, that they can do little micro sponsorships. It doesn't have to be something huge, So, very, very interesting stuff.
Now that you brought up, we talked about Tesla. One thing that I just thought of is that, like some people, I actually went and test drove a Tesla, and I loved it. And when I told people, one of the first things they told me was that, well, you don't get good range on a Tesla. And if people don't know what a Tesla is, it's a car that's run on batteries. Like, there's no gas in this car. It's really an electric car. So people are worried, hey, you can't go far in a Tesla. But like you said, you can actually drive from Montreal all the way down to Florida and charge your car all the way down as you go. So one thing that Periscope is great for is to break down these stigmas, that break down these walls, and show people that, hey, things that you think are, you might think one way, but this is the actual reality. So yes, hey, I can drive my Tesla from Montreal all the way to California. Watch me do it. And I think that would be a great way for people to learn more about that product or service. Another stigma I was thinking about is depression, mental health. Here, I don't know how it is in the U.S., but I know that here in Canada, it's a huge stigma around that. And as soon as someone hears about someone being depressed or having a mental illness, it's like, ooh, what do I say? And like, there's this huge stigma around it. And I found that Periscope is a great medium for people to actually talk about depression, to get the word out. So when you have a stigma around a certain topic, then Periscope is a great way to break down the wall and say, hey, this is what you're thinking, here's the reality of it. And people will learn from that.
Great point, David. And lots of folks are jumping in here like, yeah, a lot of people agreeing with you.
Yeah, I mean, mental illness can be something that's incredibly isolating, and that's one of the most amazing things about Periscope is that it allows you to, no matter where you are, or no matter if you are alone in your home or wherever you live. Oh, there's my dog. Sorry. That you are able to connect with people. I mean, that's one of the most incredible things about it. And so I think it will help us to become more compassionate people and help us to really understand the struggles of those that we, that we meet and the people that we relate with. And then a quick side point to David's comments about driving a Tesla across the country. You do know that the car was popularized by a contest of driving it across the United States. It was a race between two different people and two different vehicles, and there were no roads. So think about that.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's really interesting.
Isn't that cool? So yeah, I mean, having the Tesla traverse the United States in some sort of media spectacle would be quite appropriate.
That is really cool. I'm going to let him know.
I know. Maybe I should be doing brand strategy for them. Jeez.
Yeah.
Call Tesla right now.
Just throwing it out there. I'm willing to test drive one across the states. I'm ready.
All right, David will do it. I'll be the strategist.
Okay, so I've got a question. What happens when Twitter starts to monetize Periscope? Hope they don't mess it up. That's interesting. Because it's all talk how to monetize, I mean, I know that Chris Sacca, who's the investor in Twitter, one of the investors on Twitter, wrote about using the, saving the video and then having kind of like using it or reusing it, or I think that I'm not sure how it's going to happen. I do know that Twitter, and I'm quoting an article that says, Twitter is killing Twitter to save Twitter. So, because they have this new thing that's going to be launched. I don't know when it's launching. It's called Project Lightning, and they're really going to change the way we use Twitter and the way we see Twitter. And there's going to be that integration of native video. And like everyone said, where's the native video going to come from? Well, guess what? It's going to come from us. So it'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I agree, Kathy. I mean, we are going to have to be the native video content creators because we are the natives of this community, and I don't think that brands are going to be able to leverage it in the same way. And of course, with trend forecasting, I've been in that community studying quite a bit of it and the trends that it influences for marketing. But just as a general basis, it's become a lot more important that brands are a little more loose and open with their messaging, and that they are not perfectionists, that they're giving people something raw and something authentic. And I think that for larger brands who are used to spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on their marketing campaigns, to take it super lo-fi and to have very little control over the messaging is going to be the hardest thing for them. I think that they are going to have to rely on the people like us who use Periscope to be their messengers, because we will diffuse it some, but also we are now comfortable with this kind of like anything could happen sort of environment, because that's what Periscope is. It's just like, it's chaos. It's absolute chaos. Somebody could be very kind to you in a comment, or they couldn't, and you just have to go with the flow, right? I mean, you just have to take it as it comes. Oh, sorry. Should I keep talking?
I muted my mic. What's up? No, it's someone just said, is this the news on sponsorships? I was like, no, we're just really talking about brands and how brands can use it. But you're right. It's human. It's real. It's authentic. Like anything can happen. Like I said the other day, I was scoping and we had a blackout, and all of a sudden I'm left scoping in the dark, and you can just see my eyes, and that's just reality. It just happened. It's raw. It's real. And that's, I think, what scares. I think it scares companies. It scares brands in that sense of like, they're not sure. They're not sure. They're like, they can't handle the message sometimes, and that's, from a PR perspective, as a PR person, it's hard to manage. But that's the reality of what Periscope is. Everyone's out there. Everyone's got a voice. You can't always handle all the messages. So they have no control. That's what someone's saying. You can control it to a certain point, but that's it.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the brands, there's so much bureaucracy in there. It would be hard for them, I guess, to just give a few iPhones and iPads to some staff and say, okay, start scoping. To a certain point, it has to be scripted on their end, because what happens if someone says the wrong thing? Is there going to be a lawsuit for them? Like, I find, yeah, they have to find a way of being able to use this social media and use Periscope and interact with their audience and do it on a little bit more of a lowly level, but release a little bit of that control to the person that's doing the scoping. And going back to monetizing Periscope, like right now, it's a completely free app. Everyone's free to use it. There's no ads. Everything is great. So it's good now. But companies don't do everything for free, right? There's got to be some way for companies to make money from this app that they've released. And I'm hoping that they don't mess it up with, like right now, everything is good. There's updates to be done, but we like the way that it's working. But if they start adding in ads, or imagine having to do a Periscope but have like a 30-second or 1-minute ad in front of your scope. They do that on YouTube. Who knows if they're going to do that on Periscope? Or, like you said, we have our replays for 24 hours. Maybe they might say, well, hey, listen, your replay is available longer, maybe for a certain amount of money. Who knows what they'll come up with? I kind of like the way Periscope is now, that it's free to use. Everyone can use it. There's no cost to using it, but we'll see what happens in the future.
I think it could definitely change, but at the same time, we have to just continue to use Periscope the way we want it to be used. And I think that if brands are interacting with us, we need to demand from them that they interact with us in a way that we want them to. If we don't want to be ignored when they are trying to push their messaging at us, like, we've been advertised at long enough, we want to be involved in this messaging. If you're going to launch a new food product at me and it has an ingredient I don't like in it, then I have every right to tell you, I don't want my kids eating that. I don't want my family eating that. And so I think that that's what's very scary to these brands, is that we have a voice and we can exert that voice easily. But at the same time, they're going to have to come into acceptance that anything they launch going forward, whether it's a marketing campaign, a new product, or any sort of a service, that people can have an opinion and they can exert that opinion in a fierce way. And we have every right to do so. And it's the companies that adapt and listen that are going to succeed, and the companies that are staunch and don't hear their customer base, they're going to fail. And a new flock of companies that listen to their customers will come into play. This is really a new period of incredible customer empowerment. I mean, the consumer has never been more empowered than they are right now. And so that's something that you really have to acknowledge. You have a voice on Periscope, you have a voice on Twitter, and you can say something to these companies that, even 10 years ago you couldn't say to them. So, if you have an opinion, scream it off the mountaintops. You need to let people know if you don't want to be eating, GMO ingredients, or you don't want to be involved in a company that, does slave labor to create clothing products. You have every right to tell that company to shape up and to do business the way you want them to, because we have to be more socially responsible now. We're in a global economy.
And everyone's there's lots of comments here, folks saying totally agree with David, totally agree with Jena. So it's really good discussion going on. Yeah, and your glasses are fierce.
Well, thank you.
We got a comment about your necklace too, if it was sharp. So
it's not sharp. I made this. This is just baby scissors on a chain. I have a collection of baby scissors. I'll show you guys sometime.
So cool. That's so cool. And I don't mean to derail the serious discussion.
It's a serious discussion, Kathy. Sorry, my dog is bothering me. I think it means it's almost dinner time.
Yeah, we're gonna shut her down in a couple of minutes. So if anyone in the in Periscope, and I'm gonna turn the camera on me. 1 second. Hey guys, get social responsibility. Great phrase. Social responsibility. Brands. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know and I can ask them right now. For these folks of #Scope Tribe, which are awesome. They're doing such a great job. Learn to relate or no dollars for brands. I love that. Learn to relate. How do I do this video call through Google Hangout on air? So this actually will go to my YouTube channel, and people can watch it again. And and that's kind of how I record it. Now you're looking at me, but then when I turn it, you're looking at my screen. What is everyone on? Are you guys all on iPhones?
Right now I'm using my MacBook Pro for this, but I do have my iPhone also with Google Hangouts.
Yeah, I use my iPhone for Hangouts, but I also use my computer and my iPad. I'm watching the broadcast on my iPad, though, right now.
All right, guys, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. One last question. They asked, what do you see? Maybe we can do it. Maybe we can talk a little bit about how we see Periscope. What is going to Periscope look? What's Periscope going to look like in a year? Maybe. Well, that's for each one of you. Your thoughts.
Wow.
So this
6 months? Is that better?
This is technically my job. This is what I do every day of my life, is tell people what it looks like in 2 years. In 2 years, we will see a significant amount of sponsored content. But I think that sponsored content will be very different than the sponsored content we're used to seeing, which is heavily produced by brands. It's going to be involving real people, real time, with real opinions. And so we're going to watch Periscope change the way that brands interact with their customers. And this is the most crucial thing because, like I just said, we all have a voice and we can influence the direction that these major companies are going in. And if I just realized that Pepsi took aspartame out of the Diet Pepsi, right? That's a huge thing. People have been campaigning for that for years, but social media made it possible to make it happen like that. And that's what we need to realize with Periscope, that within 2 years' time, we will all be so powerful with our voices as consumers that we will be able to get big companies to do what we want them to do so we can live the type of life we want to live. And I think that that's all I have to say.
By the way, you guys keep getting a lot of hashtag Scope Tribe love, hashtag Periscope Pioneers. Guys, people love you.
Oh.
Wow, thanks.
Dave, now on to you. What's it going to look like? What is this going to look like in 6 months, a year, whatever?
I don't have the same forecasting knowledge as Jena. She's amazing. She's already on like 2016, 2017. I'm a little bit slower. It's hard for me to say because I've come from a world where an app can come out today and in 6 months it's gone, right? Vaporware. So I don't know exactly what's in the cards for Periscope. I hope that there's going to be more good content on Periscope. I think we'll probably see more brands interacting with their viewers, hopefully. I really hope about that. And I'm pretty sure in the next year or two, they'll figure out a way to monetize this app. Guaranteed somehow. What I'd like to see is maybe keep the app the way it is and maybe find monetization somewhere else. Like the fact that you have a great app and you've got a great market share in this industry, maybe that's just enough to say, hey, look, our stock prices have gone up. We're making money that way. So keep the app the way it is and use it to make money in other areas. So don't touch the app. Like everyone loves it the way it is. Like we do have the Android users that came on board recently. They're looking for some updates. Great. We just got some updates this past week too, which some were great, some were like, okay, we didn't really need. Like I didn't really care if my hearts were showing up a little bit bigger or not. I think there were bigger fish to fry with those updates. But I think that in the next 2 years we'll probably see more of these apps coming out. If it's not from Meerkat or from Periscope, maybe other companies might come out and start challenging these two big apps right now, and we'll see how it turns out.
Awesome. Well, lots of really interesting questions. Some folks are wondering if they're going to be able to watch this on YouTube. Yeah, it goes to my YouTube channel, guys. So you can just watch it there, and you know what? The cool thing there is that you can fast forward and rewind, which is something we need in Periscope.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. It'll happen, right? But yeah, guys, I want to thank you so much, Jena and David, for jumping on hashtag Scope News. I really appreciate it. You guys rock. And yeah, I'll let you guys go, and then I'll just close. I'll talk to the folks on the Scope, and then close her down. So, all right, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kathy.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for being part of this. It's amazing.
And what's the next one? Next one's scope your music, right? Scope your song?
Scope your song, yeah.
Okay, awesome.
All right,
All right.
bye.